last week's attack by soldiers on peaceful protesters in Lagos seems to have struck a familiar chord with the civilized world. And much of it has had to do with condemnation of the dastardly act. But was there something that could have been done to avert that untidy situation? Analysts are quick to mention that despite the possibility of a political undertone to the incident, global best practices in policing could have made all the difference. To explore a lot more about this line of thought, we're now being joined in Washington, D.C., United States, by Akintunde, a public safety professional attached to the Metropolitan Police Department. Welcome to the program, Akintunde Akintayo. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, sir. I'm happy to be here.
Well, as a Nigerian who is in the United States and who is a policeman in the United States, I'm sure you must have read all the stories about the hashtag #EndSARS protests in Nigeria. Nigerians protesting against police brutality. Something that is also quite a familiar subject in the United States, where we've seen people protesting against police brutality in parts of the United States. But as a Nigerian in diaspora, what do you make of the crisis that Nigeria has been trying to manage in more than 2 weeks now?
To my own view, I would say police brutality is everywhere in the whole country. It's not just Nigeria, it's not just US. So everybody has been trying to look for a way to kind of manage it, I would say. In the US, we've been doing a lot of programs because I was part of one program called Police for Tomorrow. So we are trying to create trust between the police officers and the community. So 18 members were chosen to go to class at Georgetown University and talk about ways of trying to reduce police brutality.
You have first-hand experience, don't you, of youth profiling in Nigeria. Tell us your experience that you had when you came to Nigeria on holiday and went through some harassment because of your hairstyle.
And I was asked to step out of the vehicle, and they were asking me what I do for a living. So I was kind of telling the officer, like, you should have been, because in US, when you stop a car, you have the driver to step out, not the passenger, because I wasn't the one driving. So I was asking the reason why I was stopped. He could not tell me. So he said, present me your ID. What do you do for a living? So I have to flash my badge. Then he said, I'm sorry. But I asked him, what do I do? Why? Why did you stop me? He could not answer me.
That's disgraceful, quite frankly.
I mean, that's quite very sad that even a police officer can be stopped by another police officer in Nigeria just because of your hairstyle, and that speaks volumes. But I want to talk about crowd management and crowd control amidst of all of this #EndSARS protest. Can we learn some lessons on how you manage crowd during the rallies and the protests in America as regards the George Floyd protest? Because I want to know that. Because from Kenosha to every part of America, you had protests in well over 100 cities. And we saw how it was managed. But for here, we saw how it was managed to and leaves much to be desired. What are the lessons we can learn?
I think one of the mistakes Nigerians, law enforcement, are doing is training. They don't train. They don't like. We are in US here. We are we are proactive. So we look forward to what is coming. What if this happen? So we have unit called Civil Disturbance Unit. So every officer has to be certified as a civil disturbance unit. So we go to training every 6 months on how to control crowd. First Amendment is one of the rights in the United States, and it should be every person's right to protest in Nigeria, US, anywhere, unless the protester turn to be riot. That's when we start using something called pallets, then tear gas. we don't use our weapon towards anybody unless in terms of use of force. If somebody has a gun, that's when we put a gun out. But in terms of protest, we allow everybody to like engage their First Amendment. They have the right to protest. And if it turns to a riot, that's when we start using tear gas. Then we have to arrest them, because rioting is an offense in the United States.
Well, one major issue in Nigeria is about the structure, the nature of the police in Nigeria. And there are persons who have been calling for state police, a completely decentralized police system in Nigeria. Only this morning, we talked about the National Economic Council deliberating over how to make governors truly the chief security officers in their states. Will you recommend that state police will work better in Nigeria?
Yes, to my own recommendation, I would say yes. In Nigeria, I read that we have 370,000 officers in Nigeria, in the whole Nigeria, and we only have one Inspector General of Police. There's no way, I don't know how, one Inspector General of Police can control the whole department. So I would recommend Nigerian government to create something called the state police. There should be Ondo State Police, Lagos State Police, Kano State Police, because that helps a lot. If for example, if there's Ondo State Police, we know some people grow up from Ondo State and wants to be a police officer. Then that helps in understanding their own language. Even if they stop somebody on the road, they know how to communicate well than you bringing somebody from the north side and was unable to communicate because every culture, every ethnicity counts. Sometimes when you meet somebody of your own, we are both from the same church, you relate more better or something like that. So I will encourage Nigeria government to start creating state police to make the department even more smaller, and it will be able they will be able to manage them well. Like in here in the United States, every state has their own state police. I work for Washington, D.C. We have one chief of police. We have 7 assistant chief of police. We have captains that manage and commander that manage the police station district. So everybody is kind of being monitored by somebody. Sergeant monitor officer, lieutenant monitor the sergeant, and captain monitor the lieutenant. So there's kind of process and managerial process that is going on within us, and it's very effective. And I cannot, like as a DC police officer, I don't have a right to go to Maryland. That's counted as another jurisdiction, so it's different. I don't have any power to arrest anybody in Maryland because I work for DC. But if I see any crime being committed, like maybe like an armed robbery going on, I have to engage because I'm still a law enforcement officer. And one thing I would say is, even if they create the state police officer, recruiting is the main key, because you have to start asking these people why they want to join the police department. If you are joining because of the money or because you want to take bribe for somebody or something, that's wrong. People, we like in Nigeria, we need to start hiring people based on their career. Now, I want to be a police officer because I love to be a police officer. I want to help people. I want to help my community. That's the main reason why I joined. And most of my colleagues, when we get into the hiring process, they ask us, why do you really want to be a police officer? I don't think they usually ask the Nigerian police that. They just put people in police academy in Nigeria.
Thank you for that. All these are really essential components for police accountability and police integrity. But you've also worked as a corrections officer. So I wanted to ask you for your comments on the release of inmates who were freed by hoodlums who hijacked the peaceful protest, the hashtag #EndSARS peaceful protest. We have over 2,000 inmates running amok all over the place at the moment. And even though that is clearly a crime, because they also raided the armory, they stole police uniforms and what have you, there's still a lot of sympathy for these inmates because we have 70% of inmates in Nigeria awaiting trial, which is awful. Out of 73,000 or thereabouts approximately, 51,000 are awaiting trial. So they're just been locked up, sometimes for years on end, without trial. Can you talk about that? Give me your comments on that, compared to your experience in the American correctional system.
In the American correctional system, if you're awaiting trial, they put you in jail, and if your crime is not that, like, if you're not like a flight risk, and if your crime is not that like felony crime, they put you back on the streets, and then you await your trial at home before you get a date for a trial in court. So putting people in jail for trial for that long, that's kind of not good at all. Because I went to Europe to conduct a research on criminal justice reform, and I went to London prison. I talked to a lot of prisoners, I talked to the correctional officer, I talked to the government on even how they incarcerate people, because London only has 698 people in prison, the whole London. Then then I'm talking about 2015, United States have 1.2 million, which is a lot. So I asked London how they do it. Instead of putting people in prison, they kind of put them on the street to work, community services, doing something. Like, we can even use these people that has a petty crime on the street to clean up the street instead of... There's a lot of ways we can save money by using people that committed some crime to rehabilitate them, because some people even don't learn until they walk sometimes. So there's a way we can do it than putting them in the prison, because when you put them in the prison, they might end up meeting a very high-class criminal to teach them another crime, how to commit crime. They might be a first-class criminal by the time they come out. So I don't encourage putting people behind bar while they were awaiting their trial when it's like a petty crime. But if they are like a flight risk that they can run away, then we can put them behind bars just to keep them there before the trial.
Right, Akintunde, let's talk about funding, because one of the demands when the protest started was welfare of police officers. And I want to juxtapose that with your experience in America. I mean, you were just talking to me now, and you said as a police officer, you went on a research in London. And what was just going through my head, who paid for it? I mean, is that possible in this part of the world? What's the welfare package like? What's the pay like? I mean, you must be remunerated to be able to maintain your hair alone. It shows that there's a difference in remuneration and an average, police officer here. Let's talk about that. And maybe you might lead me into some insights on what the welfare package is like for you police officers in America, so we can all learn from this.
Trust me, I would love to get into that. Welfare here, I mean, I would say the cost of living here compared to the kind of job that I'm doing, because we have a union that fight for us, that compare the cost of living to our salary, because we get paid every 2 weeks, unlike Nigeria every month. And we are kind of entitled to, even if we can work our 80 hours, sometimes we do overtime, because it's hourly pay here. So when you do overtime, it's more money. You calculate your money, and we get paid every 2 weeks. And some officers do part-time. They work at the jewelry store for somebody and get paid. So that's different. We have health insurance. We have 25 years retirement plan. You can even do 5 years and say, oh, I quit. Then you keep your retirement till you turn 55. Then you start getting paid. Whatever you put in, you get it back. And there's a percentage, because once you do 25 years, that's 62%. If you're making $100,000 that year, you get 62% of it. If you do 10 years and you're making maybe 72,000 or 80,000 a year, then you get like 25% of that. So there's a retirement time, like year. You have to do 25 years to retire. Some people can do 20 years. Once they turn 50, you can say, okay, I call it. I'm done. I want to retire. Some people do 10 and just leave and do something else just to get an experience from the police department. Just leave. For me, I'm planning to do 10 years and come back to Nigeria, hopefully, and do something else. Hopefully it all work out. But we have health insurance, which is good. I recommend every officer in Nigeria to have health insurance because they have wives, they have kids. They want to. There's a reason why they are to be happy doing that job. You have to do do something for them too. I'm just saying because doing that job in kind of that weather, I would say they need a better welfare, get better pay, better. They need a retirement. These officers must not lose salary because that will lead them to more corruption. That will create more corrupt officer if you don't pay them their salary. That's the thing. There's corruption everywhere, but there's a way you can manage it by giving them more. Their welfare, their quality of life is the main thing. And these guys need to be checked too. We do psychology cool tests every day. I would say every day. If you think there's something wrong, we have a psychologist where we can just go to her and talk to her of what is going on in our life. But I don't think Nigerian police has that. They don't have that. They need to have. I think I've heard somebody say if there's a robbery going on and they call the police, they might say, there's no gas in the vehicle. They need to start. It's the Nigerian police. We are talking about Nigeria here. So I think the government has the money to do everything that I'm talking about right now, just to encourage people to join more. I know there's a lot of good people out there that wants to become a police officer in Nigeria.
Well, you've raised a lot of issues that were also at the center of the NSAS protest in Nigeria. But I'd like to ask you to help clarify two things. In the United States, do policemen live in barracks? Because here in Nigeria, there has been concern about the state of the barracks. If policemen live in the barracks also in the United States, how does that work? And then secondly, when the protest started, the Inspector General of Police announced that the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, SARS, have been disbanded and replaced with a Special Weapons and Tactical Unit called SWAT, which we're told, is a borrowed idea from the United States. How does that Special SWAT unit, how does it work in the U.S.? And do you think it's the kind of thing that the Nigerian government should be introducing as a replacement for SARS?
I'm not going to encourage to replace SARS with SWAT. You can create a SWAT unit. It's good to have a SWAT unit. Just like maybe 18 or 20 people as a SWAT unit. That's all we have here. Maybe 18 of them or 20 of them. And it's like two groups, 8 or 10. And they are controlled by a commander or captain. It's good to have SWAT unit in Nigeria, but to tell people that, okay, we are going to disband SARS and now we are having SWAT, that's not a good way of doing things. I would say instead, just create the SWAT unit, but don't use that. Because here in the United States, there was a time where protesters were protesting about defunding the police. They were yelling and saying, we want the police defunded. And guess what? The DC Council, Washington DC Council defunded us by $15.6 million. They defunded us and we did not even do anything about it. So sometimes you have to listen to the people you're serving, because we are like, let me just say customer service. So we have to provide the good and services to these people. These are the people that need us. We have to do what they need, what they want. I mean, that's why the DC Council defunded us, because we are the one protecting them. That's what they want. We need their trust, because without the community or the society trust, there's no way a crime can be solved. There's no way, because they won't be able to talk to us. We have to create trust between the police and the community. That's why you need to do. You can't do everything they ask for, but when they said SARS is doing this wrong stuff, you have to stop it. You have to dismantle them and just let it go. I'm not saying don't create SWAT, but saying you are replacing SWAT with SARS, that's not a good way of saying it.
It does seem somewhat superficial, doesn't it?
Sorry, I wanted him to address that barracks issue. Do policemen live in barracks?
For the barrack,
yes.
For the barrack issue, we don't have barracks. So I normally do my 10 hours and come back home. We have station. Report to the station, report to my official, get my assignment. We patrol the streets, and once I check off, I come back home. We don't have barracks. We have police academy, and after we don't even stay at the academy. We do our 8.5 hours every day, Monday to Friday, 6:30 to 3 p.m. Then we come back home to sleep. Then report back at 6:30 a.m. every morning from Monday to Friday. We don't have police barracks.
I wanted to talk to you about the procedure for police misconduct, not in any way suggesting that it's perfect in America. We all followed the Breonna Taylor case as just one example. But what does happen there? Because the perception and what causes a lot of mistrust and resentment here in Nigeria is the perception that when police officers are reported for misconduct, no matter how egregious, that they're never punished.
Here in the United States, I mean, in my own, I would just say my department. Whenever somebody, like there's a police misconduct, they get punished because there's a policy and procedure for that. They gave us the manual, they gave us the policy and procedure to read for not what to do and what not to do on duty and off duty. So whenever I would say some might be doing something wrong and never get caught. I would say when you get caught, there you'll be punished. Either you're suspended because they have certain days for certain punishment, but they have termination for certain punishment too. So they gave us all the book. When you know you did something wrong, you already know how many days you're getting for suspension without pay. And if you really do what is really, really wrong, that can lead to termination, you're getting fired. So we have certain policy and procedure for that.
Well, thank you very much, Akintunde Akintayo, for joining us on the morning show. Thank you very much indeed for your time.